Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You're Allah's chosen one.
On the Day of Judgment, two people will be brought to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Two people who were basically sinners. They will be brought to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Both of them will be banished to the hellfire. Both will be banished to the hellfire. After being banished to the hellfire, one of them will hear the pronouncement of Allah that you are banished to the hellfire, and he will start running towards the hellfire. Running just as fast as he can towards the hellfire. And another one will hear the pronouncement of Allah's banishing him to the hellfire, and will drag his feet and look back. And then will walk forward and then look back. And then drag his feet and then look back. So both of these people will be returned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it will be asked of the first one, that you were banished to the hellfire, so why did you run? So that person will say, oh Allah, I spent my whole life disobeying you. I thought that at least I could close out this circumstance by obeying your command that I should run to the hellfire. So you said go to the hellfire, so I ran as fast as I can to obey your command. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives that person and puts them into Jannah. for some excuse, puts that person into Jannah. Then the second person is asked that, you were banished to the hellfire, you dragged your feet, you looked back, you dragged your feet, you looked back, you dragged your feet, you looked back. So, why? So that person will say that, Ya Allah, you banished me to the hellfire, but your mercy is so overwhelming that I was walking towards the hellfire thinking maybe you might call me back from your mercy. Then I walked forward, then I looked back thinking you might call me back from your mercy. Then I walked forward, then I looked back thinking you might call me back from your mercy. And then based on that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, yes, my mercy overrides my wrath, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put that person into Jannah as well. So this is the extent of the excuses that will be made on the Day of Judgment to put people into Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's Jannah.
I'll share with you guys one incident. A few years back in Chicago, there was a lady whose son was very sick. Very young man, her son was sick. And his situation was such that he was on life support and they were going to take him off the life support. And she said to me, I want you to be there when my son passes away. So I said to the lady, I'll come. I remember I came to the hospital, she was standing next to the son's bed. He was maybe in his mid-teens. And her husband was sitting next to me, he was on a wheelchair. And she told the doctor, go ahead, take him off the life support, and they moved the machinery from him. And he was lying there, and Allahu Akbar, seeing a mother holding her child's hand as her child was dying was something too hard to see with your eyes. It was just too hard. But I was sitting there watching because she asked me for support. But it was so difficult for me to sit there that I started looking down and tears started flowing from my eyes. And this lady was holding her son's hand and just biting her lip and just saying to her son, she kept saying in a soft tone, everything will be okay, everything will be okay. And she knows that his pulse is cutting down. She can feel it. She's holding his hand. And then she says to the doctor, when the final moments come, let me know. The doctor said to her, these are the final moments now. So Allahu Akbar, this lady, she leaned forward and she kissed her child and she stopped right there. And she just stayed in that moment, that position there. She was just kissing her child until the child passed away. After the child passed away, I stood up to greet her. I said, Auntie, I apologize for not being able to give you the support at this tough moment because I was breaking down in tears myself. She said to me, son, I didn't invite you to give me support. For that I have Allah. I've learned that through the years. The only one you can rely on is Allah. However, the reason why I called you here is because I wanted you to be witness that I loved my son. See, a few weeks ago, my son and I had an argument. And he fell ill while we were in the state of that argument. I didn't get a chance to tell him how much I loved him. And then she said to me, Wallahi al-Azim, I swear by Allah, the day he was born, it was these hands that first brought him into the world. And I was the first one to hold him, and I was the first one to kiss him. And today when he left the world, I wanted you to be witness that I was the last one to hold him, and I was also the last one to kiss him. See, sometimes you forget about your connection, the heat of the moment, you get distracted. But can you ever break the relationship of a mother and a child? I mean, this mother is kissing her child after the child is dead. He's gone. He's left the dunya. You know, he's no longer even existent. Before he was born, the mother was carrying the child in her womb. Before he was even in existence, he was in the womb. He was something, maybe nothing. And the mother is still holding that stomach, and she's talking to the baby, she's smiling at the baby, she's already planning her dreams with the baby. Likewise, as much as your mother loves you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you 99 folds more than that. No matter how much your mother loves you, and there are mothers sitting here and they can't even express their love for their kids. They can't put it in words. It's impossible. It's one of those relationships, it's a feeling. It's, you know, the Layla and Majnun couldn't express their love for each other. You know, Romeo and Juliet couldn't express their love for each other. Ask any mother, could the love of Romeo and Juliet ever match your love for your child? And the mother will say, Romeo and Juliet are amateurs. We're the pros. And if you think you're the pros, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond you. 99 folds more than that.
Islam is that beautiful faith that advocates kindness even to the children of kuffar. And that is the beauty we need to reflect. That Sahabi Khubayb radiallahu anhu, when he was taken to the kuffar and he was about to be executed, one day prior to his execution, one of the children came and sat down in his lap. One of the kafir children. A child doesn't understand color, race. These are the borders that we introduce the children to. What does a child know? A child is not prejudiced. A child doesn't know anything. It is the parents that shape the mind of that child. Nonetheless, this child comes and sits in the lap of this Muslim, knowing not that this man had killed my uncle in the battle, and tomorrow he's going to be executed. And this Sahabi has a blade in his hand. The riwayat comes in Bukhari. And the child is sitting in the lap. And the mother comes out. فَدَرَجَ بُنَيٌّ لَهَا وَهِيَ غَافِلَةٌ. The child comes out, the mother is unaware, oblivious. This Sahabi senses the phobia and the nervousness on the mother of this child. So he looks at that woman and he says, أَتَخْشَيْنَ أَنْ أَقْتُلَهُ? Oh sister, I know tomorrow I will be executed. Do you think I will stoop so low to take out my anger on this defenseless child? That is not the teachings of Islam. I love this child and I embrace this child, knowing very well tomorrow this child's father will be killing me. It is high time, I swear by Allah, let me tell you brothers, the anti-Islamic sentiments that are being echoed, this does not have its roots from the inception of the media. This has its roots from the very beginning of Islam. I substantiate it in the light of Quran. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ مَاذَا أَنزَلَ رَبُّكُمْ قَالُوا أَسَاطِيرُ الْأَوَّلِينَ لِيَحْمِلُوا أَوْزَارَهُمْ كَامِلَةً يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَمِنْ أَوْزَارِ الَّذِينَ يُضِلُّونَهُم بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ أَلَا سَاءَ مَا يَزِرُونَ. Those who loved around Nabi alayhi salam, who were convinced on the character of Nabi alayhi salam, the impeccable behavior, the flawless character of Nabi alayhi salam. Yet when they journeyed beyond the borders of Arabia and they interacted with other people, and at times they were asked with regards to the character of Nabi alayhi salam, they would say, nay, it is nothing but ancient tales. It's nothing, knowing very well the beauty of Islam. Hence, this has its roots from the very beginning of time. But the world will have no choice if we belie the media by virtue of our character.